Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm excited to bring you today's show. Back in April, the top-rated cable news host, Tucker Carlson, was suddenly removed from his Fox News show, sidelined at the height of his career, and we had no idea why. To this day, Fox News has not said. That's how much it respects its audience. We've talked about it many times on the show. We brought you the truth about what was really happening behind the scenes and what they were doing to him in the press thereafter, while so many others just went with a spin being offered by that network's communications person. Tucker and I have known each other for a long time. We've talked many times since April, off the air and off the record, but today is our first conversation on the air since that seismic moment earlier this year. Since he left Fox, Tucker has been putting our videos, on the platform formerly known as Twitter. Now it's called X, with his successful Tucker on X show. But as we're going to discuss today, there's a whole lot more Tucker coming your way, starting right here. Hey, subscribe to the show on YouTube and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's the Christmas and holiday season, everyone. Time for gift giving, parties with friends and family, and hopefully getting compliments everywhere you go because you look so much younger, thanks to Genucel. From now through Christmas, Genucel's most popular package is more than 70% off at Genucel.com. Treat yourself and a loved one to the absolute best skincare in the world. See those troubling forehead wrinkles, fine lines, skin redness, pesky bags and puffiness, even a sagging jawline disappear with Genucel's most popular collection. With its immediate effects product, you will see results in less than 12 hours guaranteed, or you'll get your money back. Plus, included in every most popular package is a free hyaluronic acid serum for skin hydration that will restore your youthful appearance. Visit Genucel.com/MK60 now. Enter my special promo MK60 for an additional 10% off your entire order. Every order today, instantly upgraded to free express shipping. Genucel.com/MK60. That's GENUCEL.com/MK60. Tucker Carlson, welcome back to the show. It's great to see you.
When you said Fox News is still not divulged, literally the first thing that came to my mind was, I bet he's guilty of human trafficking. And then I thought, wait, it's me. Human trafficking. It just sounds so bad. To this day, we don't know why they did it.
You and I both know if Irina thought she could get away with that lie, she would have planted it.
Sure. I've never trafficked anybody, I will say. I've had a long and varied life, but that has not been part of it.
Let's thank God for that. Well, that's as good a place to start as any. And we're going to get to very shortly, you have a big announcement about what you're doing next, which is what people want to know. But let's just spend a minute on the Fox termination because it was such a huge story. We covered it for months here on this show, as you know. And I've heard you talk about it in other forums, but you and I have got to have this discussion. First of all, how are you doing? Here we are, 7 months after it happened? You seem better than ever. You seem very excited about the new adventure. When it first happened, though, you were reeling, and there's that moment of like finding your footing, like, wait, what does this mean for me?
Well, actually, I mean, I'm great. I've been happy pretty much the whole time. Was obviously surprised. I wasn't expecting it at all. But I also felt, and I expressed this in the conversation I had when I got the news, kind of not my company. And I served at the pleasure. I always knew that. And I've been in the business since I was in my 20s. I'm now 54, so that's a long time. And I knew that this is kind of how the end comes. Very few people leave voluntarily. In fact, you're one of the only people I've ever met who made it to the top and then left. That's not the course of events for most people on TV. Like you're going along and then bam, there's some massive scandal and they can't. So I actually felt like I got out pretty well. I mean, I didn't do anything bad other than have, naughty opinions, but I didn't commit any crimes. I didn't harass anybody. So I actually felt pretty good about it. I was shocked for like the first 8 minutes. And then I called my wife. She was thrilled. And then, our staff came with us. So I wound up living and working with the same people that I had been with for the, previous number of years. And I love them. It was great.
That was such a blessing.
We got to go travel.
That was such a blessing, Tucker.
I mean,
and it's such a credit to you because your staff does not follow you if they don't love you. And of course, Fox had no love for them either, I'm sure, but it was a testament to you, and they're still with you, helping you in the new venture.
Well, they were the best people there. That was the weird part. I mean, they were literally the best people there. Much more, I've never been particularly knowledgeable about or good at TV. I just sort of stare at a camera and say what I think. But these are people who really understand television and were super smart, loyal, and every single one of them is a good person. All of them stay at my house all the time. I mean, they're like friends. Oh, yes, that was amazing for me.
But what's amazing about the departure from Fox is, yes, you do serve at the pleasure of, the Murdochs, of course. But unlike, and I know you sort of laughed about having been fired from all these other networks because you've been in the business for a long time, but you were succeeding. They don't normally fire you when you're at the top of your game, when you are the ratings king,
right.
When you're making news. You had just had a huge interview with Elon Musk. You had just done Kanye. I mean, you've been making huge news, and you were the most relevant thing on Fox. That's unusual. I mean, that's why everybody was like, what? It wasn't like low-rated show on whatever network. This was a powerhouse that they ended what felt to most of us like clear out of the blue.
Well, I mean, I should just say at what I've said before, which is I sincerely don't know why they canceled the show, and I would absolutely say so if I did know, because I want to be as honest as I can be. But I don't. But you could flip it around if you were speculating and imagine that maybe being the top show is not a strength, but potentially a weakness. Maybe that's a problem if you're saying things, that people don't like, and who knows who those people are. But if they're unpopular power than you do, and you have a big audience, it's not the top rated show. If you're like languishing at 2 p.m. on the weekends and you've got naughty thoughts, like they can put up with it. But if you have, a much larger audience, then they're hearing about it a lot. And it really is like one of those mysteries that I'll probably never get to the bottom of. And I've stopped even thinking about it. But, it could be a lot of different things. I had a lot of different opinions that some people didn't like. And I should say Fox never tried to tell me what to say, and I wouldn't have put up with it for a minute anyway, but they didn't. And good for them. But, it could have been, I had heterodox views on Ukraine. I had heterodox views on the COVID vaccine, immigration, January 6th. As you said, I interviewed Kanye. I interviewed Trump. I interviewed Elon. I mean, who knows who you offend? And I guess the only thing I would say is it's not even aimed at Fox, really. It's kind of aimed at the many other people, some of whom are actually loathsome, particularly in politics, who were complaining, not to my face. Everyone's got my text. Everyone on the planet has my text. So you can always text me or call me or say, I think you're awful. I disagree with you on this, and here's why. But rather than do that, they took this much more feline, stealthy, and dishonorable approach, which is, bitch to your boss. And those are the people, and I can imagine a couple of them were, and they're exactly the people you would imagine. Mitch McConnell, or that weird guy from Wisconsin who was speaker for a while, people like that, they, instead of saying it to my face, I think, went to others. And I don't respect that at all. I mean, I really don't.
Paul Ryan, and he was on the Fox board, so definitely had the ear. And as we understand it, was not a fan. But, that's what happens when you make it to the top of cable news primetime. You have a lot of detractors and you have a lot of fans.
Yeah, but can I just say one thing? If you don't like somebody, Megyn, and I know you pretty well, if you don't like somebody, you say things like, hey, I don't like you, and here's why. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're pretty straightforward about what you think. And first of all, there's freedom in that, and there's dignity in that. You're not lying to somebody's face. And that's what bothers me on a human level, is if you don't like what I think, say it to me. But they never will, because they're cowards.
Mm-hmm. This is the thing that bothered me about the whole thing, Tucker. You're right. It's a brutal, toxic business, and anybody can be axed for whatever reason at any time. But the disrespect they showed to the audience, and in my view, to you, in not giving you an answer, a reason, was unforgivable. You're nicer than I am, which I think most people would say. You're way nicer than I am. I'm still pissed off about it. It was so wrong. You didn't get a reason. Your wife, Susie, didn't get a reason. Your family didn't get a reason. And then they spent weeks in the press trying to disparage you. I'm bitter about it. You're not bitter. I'm bitter on your behalf. You've always been this happy warrior. It's funny you say that, because
I was mad at NBC when they called you a racist for talking about Halloween costumes. I was like, what? And of course, they called me a racist too, but I'm not a racist. That's the thing. And I do have weaknesses. I definitely have a weakness for Oreos and related Nabisco products, and that's sort of obvious to everybody. And there are definitely things that I've been wrong about some things in a public way, and you could say that. But calling me a racist, I was like, yeah, I'm a racist. Okay. I mean, it's just so dumb, and it didn't even bother me. And I don't think at this point, like, that's a meaningful attack when it's untrue, and it's pretty clear that it is untrue. So I don't really care. And I feel happy, and I feel liberated, and I wouldn't want to be in that business. And I did my turn, as you did. I spent decades in that business, and I'm 54. It's like, what are you going to be in cable news till you're 74? I don't think so. And there's so much other interesting stuff to do that, like, you can't really be mad. Like, on what grounds could I be mad? I don't know. Like, some corporate person didn't like me. Well, I don't like corporate people, so we're even.
All right, so that leads me to the really relevant question, which is, did they ever fire you? Are you still working there? Are you still getting a paycheck?
Well, the thing is, I mean, of course I'm not working there, but I didn't violate my contract, and no one ever claimed that I did, it's so hard to know where I don't read, you can ask my producer, Justin, I don't think I've ever read anything about myself, like anything.
I know.
At all, not one word.
That's how you stay sane.
I know who I am, and well, yeah, and I care about what my family and friends think, and that's kind of it. So I don't really know what they said about me, but I kept hearing, oh, they're saying you're a racist because of your text messages or whatever. Well, there were no racist texts. I'm actually not a racist. So they didn't find, I'm not having an affair. I don't have a secret drug problem or whatever. And so but it's hard to know exactly how that made it into the press. So
no, it's not. It's not hard at all. If you'll forgive me, it's very clear.
We have our suspicions, don't we?
We do. Yeah, the audience is well aware.
But also, I would say that.
What I'm trying to get to, like, how did it ever resolve? Because they canceled the show, but they didn't fire you because they wanted you to stay in limbo.
Dispersive. Right. So this is what it's like to have dinner with me. We can never stay on a topic. I beg your pardon. You asked a direct question. I'll give you a direct answer. I didn't violate my contract. I'm not working there, obviously. But I did not violate my contract, so there were no grounds to end my contract. So there you go.
But their plan was clearly to keep you under the thumb for the next, throughout the election cycle. And then when your deal expired post November of 24, to say, okay, now you're free. And usually people at Fox will take that deal because they need the money. Now you don't really need the money, and you've never really cared about money anyway. So they're miscalculating your value system. So to me, this is interesting as an industry person, because this is what these big corporations do, is in order to work there, they make you sign a non-compete, and they make you say, if you get fired, even without cause, you can't work for anybody else. You can't do anything else until the expiration date of the contract. Well, your case challenged that, because you said, on your money, I don't care about your money. I'm going to launch a show. Now today, you're going to launch a whole new network, which we're going to talk about in a minute.
Right.
And it really put Fox in a difficult spot, because if they let you do it, it challenges their whole system, their whole setup for everybody else who's still laboring there, who may have to face the same decision. So what's the status of that? Did they ever sue you? What happened?
No. And I mean, I'm not into legal action. I'm a simple man, and I don't like a lot of the trappings of the modern world. And one of the main ones I dislike is the impulse to take everything to court. And so, anything I can do to avoid that. But, my position, I've used social media and had a digital presence for the entirety of my work at Fox and my previous job. So and many people at cable news networks, have digital presences. Many of them sell things on the side, it's not, there's a long precedent for that.
BillO'Reilly.com.
Really what it comes down.
Remember that every night?
I think
Roger used to say, he may want to sell doormats.
No, I saw him the other day. He was so much happier. It was interesting. I don't want to speak for him,
but good.
There is a world out there. So no, I don't anticipate any problems with them. I'm not mad at them. I also think, if I'm being totally honest, there's something a little bit gross about holding a grudge or whatever. I'm not on your own behalf. I'm happy to hold grudges on behalf of other people, but I don't want to hold them on my own behalf, because that does seem a little narcissistic. But I do think it's a huge problem, not simply for that channel, but for all the channels, and for, in fact, a lot of corporate America. If it's clear that there's a pathway out of it, if you can rise to the top at Fox, go to NBC and have them call you a racist over a Halloween conversation, and then emerge as a big force in American politics and life and host a debate, you're a living symbol that actually, there's some things you don't have to put up with. And so I do think that's threatening, again, not just to Fox or MSNBC, but to Citibank or whatever, or any corporate overlord who is mistaking himself for God, as so many of these people do. It's really a threat, because the whole system is based on the idea you're nothing without us.
Yeah.
And that's just not true, because you have inherent value because God created you. And so I don't care how many times, the PR people are, you suck without us and you need us to manage it. It's like, no, I don't. I feel better about myself than that. You're like sad and miserable and like, please leave my office now. It gives you a sense of your value, kind of.
Yeah, no, it's entirely true. And that's the one blessing of separating from that system, whether it's voluntarily or involuntary. It's,
yes,
you're free. You're free. You are kind of forced, if you want to stay doing what we do, to find a new way, right? It's like Darwinism. And before you know it, you've risen again. You found a new and better way of delivering your message and the news. And lo and behold, as I know has happened with you, the audience comes. They find you, even if it's hard, even if it's on X to begin with, and now it's going to be much bigger. They find you.
I think that's right. And I think especially now, well, first of all, in speaking for myself, I don't have any other talents, and if they start paying you to quail hunt or trout fish, I'll get rich. But other than that, I've been in journalism my whole life. And so that's what I'm doing. But I think now, there's a need for people who are honest. The audience can tell if you're trying to tell the truth. And that's kind of the main thing they want, I think, is just your commitment to honesty, as imperfect as it may be. And if they see other news organizations who aren't even trying, whose whole existence is about manipulating you, the public, into joining some program that's bad for you and your family, it doesn't take much to be better than that, by the way. Because I would say one other thing is, the second you start to see your mission as shaping the public's views on something, or getting everyone on board to whatever dumb project they've dreamed up this week, you lose all curiosity, because you're so mission driven. We've got to get them to support this stupid thing. And that really is the way they see the world, all these companies. Then you miss all the other amazing stuff that's going on around the world. You stop being curious. And that is the thing that strikes me about corporate media, is their incuriosity. Their total in anything, or lack of interest in anything that's happening. And so much is happening. The whole world is resetting and exploding in some places. And it's just a fascinating time. And they miss all of it. It's the same story on a loop, just like North Korea just beating you into submission. Dear leader, dear leader, dear leader. And even if I like the dear leader, which I don't, what else is going on? Nothing, just dear leader. And I just think that that's so tiresome that it demands, an alternative.
Oh, this is why they were so wrong on COVID. And they were so wrong on Russiagate. And they have, yes, there are ideological biases there too, but they drive the mission of what Dear Leader is going to say. What is the message?
Yes.
They're not driven by truth. And even at Fox, you were there. I think you were there when this happened. I know I was there when, after Romney lost in 2012, Roger did the complete reset, including with Paul Ryan and some others, on now we're going to be pro illegal immigration. Now we're going to be pro finding a path to amnesty. We're going to do a 180. And I remember watching Hannity, who I think we both like, on the air, who had been pushing exactly the opposite up until the night of election, have to try to do a 180 because the message had come down from above. Marco Rubio, that's actually the name I was looking for. They were all on board, this sort of gang of 8. This was the new, and it was how is this honest, right? It's it feels like a surrender as opposed to just reporting what's real, what the real problems are, and letting the viewers figure out what the right solution is.
That's exactly right. And I do think you sap your credibility over time if you do something like that. And I should just say again that my arrangement with that company was super simple for the whole 14 years I was there, which was, it's your company. If you don't like what I'm saying, please take me off the air, because that's your prerogative, because you own it and I don't. But as long as I'm on the air, I'm going to say exactly what I think. And they were totally okay with that. And that's one of the reasons I was pretty much okay with being taken off the air, because that kind of was the deal. Don't tell me what to think. I will never stand. I will die first, okay? And I mean that. But if you don't like it, just pull the plug. And I do think that's the more honorable way to do it. Just again, it's your chance. And if you don't, but I'm not going to say things that I don't believe. Ever. And once you start doing that, once you start lying, it changes you as a person. And the opposite is also true. The second you decide to tell the truth, not just in public, but in your personal life, really tell the truth, then you become strong. But if you don't, if you go along with their lies, it hollows you out inside and you become this kind of desiccated, desperate, fearful person. And boy, you see that on the faces of so many people on television. I look at Joe Scarborough, who I knew really well, and I always thought a lot of him, didn't always agree with him, but he's smart. He's quite smart. I mean, that is true, because I know him really well. And then he starts to go along with these lies. Not going to Joe Scarborough, but you look at him and you're like, this is a man who was on from himself, from everyone around him. He's just like desperate to play this role. And that's just hell. Like, I would never live like that. And there's no reason ever to live like that.
Well, what's interesting to the audience, I think, is they can relate to this, even if they've never worked for a media company, because they're being forced to do this in their own life on all this woke nonsense. They're being forced to go to these DEI trainings and say the things and not fly their American flag in some instances. Otherwise, they're considered controversial, and accept that there can be more than two genders and two biological sex. Like, they're being forced. Otherwise, they're being fired or they're getting hauled down to HR, right? So it's like, even if you're a civilian, you know exactly what we're talking about. You feel it.
Oh, I mean, and it's almost literally in the water. I mean, it's so pervasive that you don't even think about it. But I mean, for 20 years, they've been telling us that the single greatest threat to our internal security is white Christians. It's like, what, no one has Google? No one has, no one can read numbers? Like, that's just a lot. I mean, whatever, maybe you don't like white Christians, that's totally fine. But to tell us that they're the great threat to, peace and harmony in America is like literally insane. There are no data that show that to be true. It's the inverse of the truth. And people just kind of accept that they're supposed to nod along and listen to that. That and like 100 other lies that form the basis of our civic life. Like, it's kind of all a lie, actually. The propaganda has been so thick for so long that people internalize this stuff that's the mirror image of the truth, and they don't even know it. And I do think as people start to be like, wait a second, that's not true. Is that true? Do we know that that's true? Once they start to say that out loud, wow, heads explode. And you hear it all the time. I'm sure you do as well. People are like, oh my gosh, this is freaking me out. I believe in things that used to be called conspiracy theories, but they're true. I do think if you start to get critical mass of people thinking like that, and I pray to God it stays peaceful, but I do think you've got big change ahead. Because people are like, no, that's a lie, and I'm not going along with it, because guess what? I'm a free man, not a slave.
Mm-hmm. You're seeing more and more of that in today. And I'm going to talk about your media company, but just to your point, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was there's an Axios piece out right now on Trump and what his second term might look like. And there are many alleged threats that we all need to fear deeply. But one of them that Axios wanted us to know was his alleged second term cabinet is mostly white men. Oh my God, Tucker.
No,
He's going to be bringing in white men.
The ones who founded the country, get them out of here. Like, what?
They're still putting that in articles like we're supposed to be alarmed.
I know. But it's kind of crazy if they said, well, it's mostly Jews, or it's mostly Latinos, or there are way too many black guys here. Everyone would be like, wait, what? You're attacking people on the basis of their race. Universal principles apply always, and that is always wrong. So no, you can't do that. I'm not saying you should be put in jail or fired for it, but like the copy editor should say, are we attacking people on the basis of their race? Let's take that out, because we don't do that in this country, because we don't want to be Rwanda. But it's just crazy. And I do hope that people push back in a gentle, firm, principled way against that. No. How about no?
Yeah, well, you're doing it. All right, so that leads me to the big announcement today. So tell us what you're doing. The headline that we got from your team is you're launching a streaming service. And then I will be honest, I was like, what is a streaming service? Like, is that like Hulu when I go to my TV, or Apple or Netflix? Or explain what it means and describe the scope of it.
I'm about to make a river joke. It has nothing to do with streams. And as a trout fisherman, that makes me sad. No, it's simply bringing programming to you by subscription digitally. And we're going to be doing that for two reasons. One, X, which has just been an amazing venue for us and will continue to be our venue. And Elon Musk, really great to us. It's not set up for these videos, for example. If you put out a lot of content and we plan, that's exactly, or for subscriptions. I think it will be. I mean, there's a subscription function on X, and I think they're fine-tuning it, and I think we're going to participate in that at some point, et cetera, et cetera. But just the way that it's structured, the nature of the app doesn't lend itself to like putting a big library right in front of you on one page. And we want to do that because we have a lot of stuff. And so it's a subscription model, just like any other streaming service or one of these companies with at the end. And the point is really simple. It's twofold. One, you want to bring a lot of material. I hate the word content. I'm trying to think of an option. A lot of material, a lot of news, a lot of facts, a lot of thoughtful opinions to people. You want a library, okay? We had a huge library where we worked before. We lost the whole thing. So we want to rebuild that. And second, you need some scale. I'm not a money person, as you said correctly. I probably should be a little more, but we live pretty simply, actually. So we don't. But anyway, but you need to have a lot of people work for you if you want to gather the information. There are just too many things going on, and so in order to have, a staff capable of bringing a lot of information about what's happening right now, particularly in the next 12 months, which will reshape the world, in my view. You need to pay them, and you need to have a real company. And the downside is, of course, once you have a real company, then the stakes rise. If you're a lone person, whatever, you're more cat-like. You're like the Viet Cong. You can march 20 miles and sleep in a tree. But if you're a company, you're more a fixed position and a fixed target. So there is a downside to it. But we felt that we needed to do it because there's just a lot going on. So it's a subscription service.
Okay, so, and to get it, people need to go to tuckercarlson.com right now. And as I understand it, they can sign up and they can have this subscription relationship with you for $9 a month or $72 a year, something like that. And in addition, they can still get all the free content on X and on an audio podcast that you're dropping.
Exactly. And the X stuff is not going away. And I've just been amazed by what a great platform it's been. And the main, I've noticed the scale of it. I'm sure coming from television, you see this too. It's like the number of people who watch is so dwarfs anything that's happening on linear television. It's like a different world. I know, it's amazing. But the thing that I really notice is how international it is. I mean, it truly is the world's last big free speech platform. I mean, it is that. And so there's something very appealing about that. We took 7 international trips this summer around the world, and I wanted to do that because I've been stuck in the studio for all these years, and I hadn't done it in a long time, since the beginning of the war on terror, actually. And it just confirmed my belief that everything is changing so fast, particularly America's role in the world. And so we've got, this winter we're traveling around the world to a bunch of different places. We've got a bunch of different interviews and stories that we're doing in various countries, and that's a huge feature of it. And that, a lot of that will appear on X, but you also sort of wonder, I like long form, you now do it for a living, you know how satisfying it is to talk to someone for more than 8 minutes. You sort of wonder, there's got to be a place that's easier to view than, social media are right now. And so some of that will go on X, and then if you're interested in some other features and documentaries, we're doing a bunch of documentaries. All of that is in the subscription service.
You know what this reminds me of, Tucker? I appeared at some media conference a year ago, and one of the main featured speakers was Mr. Beast. And Mr. Beast, he's incredibly successful. He's figured out the YouTube algorithm. Like, the head of YouTube was there talking about how he's spoken to this guy, Jimmy, and how he's not just some kid who got lucky on YouTube. Like, he figured out the algorithm and started programming to it, and just everything exploded. I think he's got 200 million subscribers now. But one of the ways in which he did it was he appeals to a worldwide audience. He's gone beyond the United States of America, and he produces content that could be interesting across cultures, across languages, and so on. And that's kind of what I see you doing. You're like becoming the Mr. Beast of news.
Well, I would say, that's a huge compliment because he's been so in the medium. I would just say 2 things. He works with YouTube. Okay, so he's actually sort of part of their business in a way. I'm not attacking that, but that's a little bit different from what we're doing. And I would also say that he's very self-consciously, non-offensive. He's trying to appeal to his wife. He's Disney
and
trying
you're the
to sell
opposite.
a movie in China. So, well, a little bit. Just by, not that I seek to offend people. I really don't. In fact, I think it's wrong to offend people for its own sake. I'm not giving the finger to old ladies at crosswalks. You know what I mean? I actually don't like to offend people.
No, but truth-telling in modern day America can be offensive.
Well, in the modern day world, what's happening in America looks very much like what's happening in half a dozen other countries I've been to in the last couple of months. It's the same template. The countries are becoming less democratic. They yelp about democracy constantly. Democracy, we're defending democracy, when in fact, they're creating permanent oligarchies with the help of technology. That's exactly what's happening. And again, not just here. The Anglosphere, they put people in concentration in Australia. They ended free speech in New Zealand and any right to self-defense. Like, these are countries that are becoming authoritarian. Canada killed, like, in the last few years, has killed over 40,000 of its own citizens through state administered suicide. Like, there's all this amazing stuff going on. And so to push back against any of it immediately means you're going to be called, let me guess, a racist, and a bunch of other things too. And so it's kind of baked in the cake. Like, you're gonna make people mad if you call them out on what they're doing. That's wrong. But that's kind of the whole point, is because we don't, and that really is the whole point of the subscriptions. Is like, I don't know how honest I should probably be here, but like, Elon never offered me any money or anything, or to hire me or anything like that. But I love him. I think he's wonderful. But it never occurred to me to ask to work for him, because the whole point is not working for anybody. That's like the whole point. And we turned down a couple of opportunities, very generous, and I think they were meant in the best spirit. But just the nature of that arrangement is something that at this stage of my life, I just don't want. I want to wake up and say to myself, you can say whatever you want, within the bounds of what you think is true, your own conscience, whatever, but I'm going to make those calls, and I'm going to do it without interference, period. And I'm going to tell the unadorned truth, and I hope gently and, in as least offensive way as I possibly can. But I'm going to tell that truth until the day I die, and I really mean that. And I'm going to try to do it in my personal life too. It's one of my things that I've resolved to do until I die, because I think that's the answer. I really do.
This is the only way for you. This is the only way forward. And if you zoom out, and then we looked at 94 at Tucker Carlson's career, when we look back at 53, which I think you were when the Fox decision came down, it will be the best thing that ever happened to you. It'll be a great thing for America.
I think so.
You look at the stats. We just had numbers out today. In fact, my team pulled these for me, and I thought they were very interesting on what cable's doing, what broadcast is doing right now. And I know that it's a dying business, but the stats actually show it. Just not for nothing, but take a listen to this. The headline at The Verge is, it's official. People are not watching TV as much as they used to. Linear TV now accounts for less than 50% of all TV usage. So, you got a TV in your house, you turn it on, you have all sorts of options. You can turn on cable, you can turn on your broadcast television networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, or you can you can go to Apple, you can go to Hulu, you can go to Netflix, you can go to Amazon Prime, or you can go to YouTube. You have all different Rumble. You have different options there now. And those different options are now dominating the more than 50%. Cable and linear television entirely, never mind news, are dying. So you've left a dying animal, and you've gotten on top of this new exciting horse, and you're going to ride it off into the sunset all the way to your dying day, Tucker. And I think you're going to be an important voice, even more so than you were. All right, stand by, because I got to pay my bills. This is not a subscription service. We depend on the advertisers. One's coming up right now. More with Tucker Carlson, who stays with us for the show. The Megyn Kelly Show is supported by Grand Canyon University. Founded in 1949, GCU is a private Christian university that's dedicated to delivering an affordable and transformative higher education. Their vibrant campus is located in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, and according to niche.com, it's ranked a top 25 best campus in the country. As of June 2023, GCU offers 330 academic programs with over 270 online, allowing you the freedom to earn your degree on your time from wherever you are. At GCU, your degree, whether it's a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate, integrates the free market system and a welcoming Christian worldview. Learn more about GCU's programs, competitive tuition rates, and scholarship offers from your university counselor. They are part of the supportive graduation team that's going to take a personalized approach to helping you achieve your academic goals, walking alongside you every step of the way. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. For more info or to enroll, visit gcu.edu.
They told you the guys torching Wendy's in 2020 were mostly peaceful. They said that masks worked. They told you the vax was safe. They tried to convince you that Russia blew up its own pipeline. The corporate media lied too much, and it killed them. were driving to see Julian Assange.
Believe me when I tell you.
Wait. I should be boycotting Bud Light.
Fantastic job. Thank you.
That was amazing.
Tucker Carlson Network. In the background is like a red pill, which I love. That promo was exciting. And by the way, once again, for the audience, tuckercarlson.com to sign up for their subscriptions. And the Tucker Carlson podcast, available free and everywhere. First episode with our mutual friend, Kid Rock, just came out. Love it. He's so entertaining to talk to.
It's the best.
Is it meant to be a red pill in the background, or is that just, am I imagining that?
As hard as it may be to believe, it's true. I had never seen any of that before. I just saw it all.
You've never seen any?
First time.
What?
No. I hear style of. I've got producers in the studio right now who are nodding, but yeah, I have a weird style where I'm like totally in my own world, and I stay there, and I don't ever kind of venture. And the people that we have, who I've worked with for many years now, are so good that I never ask like, oh, what did the promo look like, or what's the design look like? I mean, I've never asked. I've never seen any of it. So
wasn't that exciting?
Like it, though. I would sign up.
I like it too. I love
great.
it. It really was.
Yeah,
it makes me excited.
Those are all ad-libbed, by the way. That I made it up as I was talking because it seemed true. But yeah, no. So I don't think anybody from HBS is going to be studying my management style and trying to replicate it.
Good, because it's not replicatable.
The most conventional.
No, I've said, and forgive me because I like Vivek, and I know you like Vivek too. But one of my criticisms of Vivek in this race has been he's trying to be you, but there's only one you, and it's not imitatable. Like, he's got to do his own thing. There's only one Vivek. He should stay in that lane. There's no imitating Trump, but there's no imitating Tucker. Period.
Well, it's interesting. I know you've noticed that. I mean, there, but it's just I've always noticed it that candidates during the course of a campaign, particularly if it gets intense, they do change. I mean, they become different people. I've seen this. I've covered a lot of candidates and known a lot of presidents and everything. And they, by the end of the campaign, they're a different person. So candidates try and teach their audience and convince their audience, but they're also learning from the experience of being in front of audiences, I have noticed. And he is, I have to say, I mean, that debate, I should have said this at the outset, was amazing. It was the only interesting one we've had this cycle. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
His hostility toward Nikki Haley, I mean, you were in the room, you tell me, that seemed completely real. That did not seem manufactured at all.
Oh, it's
was
legit.
It, did you think?
I completely think it's legit. And I think it's fine. He's representing a segment of the GOP base that can't stand her, that thinks she's too hawkish, that thinks she's too tied to the establishment. That's like, people got offended by his little sign. I like the prop. I want more props. I think they're kind of fun. Like, the visuals kind of help people remember what your message is. They don't have to agree with it.
Completely. But it wasn't fake, though, because I hear people say, and I don't follow politics that closely, honestly, electoral politics, but I hear the main rap against Vivek is that he's manufactured. This is like some McKinsey scheme president. But that, just watching the tape, and I'm just interested, since you were literally in the room doing the moderating, that seemed like truly how he feels. Like, that did not seem like an act at all.
I think those two can't stand each other. And even in the breaks, you see Christie and Nikki Haley sort of together and cracking jokes, and they seem very friendly with one another. And a little bit more this time, DeSantis and Vivek, like, they were a little bit more friendly. But for me, it was fascinating because you saw like the old school Republican Party and more the new school Republican Party on stage in a way that was, pretty indicative of where we've been and where we're going. They don't like each other. I think Vivek, the criticism of him, which I tried to get to in my electability question for him, is, I was joking on the air that he was like Sybil at these debates. Like, the first debate, he was like, he came out of nowhere. Everyone's bought and paid for. And then the second debate, he's like, everyone's a good person and I hate personal insults. That debate number 3 was like, he's wearing high heels. Jeez.
So good. Was it different for you, not as an employee of a big television network?
Yes, it was liberating, Tucker, because it was like,
I believe it.
I don't know how, certainly NBC, but maybe even Fox would have reacted to my question on COVID vaccine injuries. And I really have questions about how Fox would have reacted to my question on trans and kids and what we're doing to the children. They're not so great over at Fox News on this thing. So it was great to be, and to their credit, News Nation, which was not in charge of me, we were equal partners on that whole thing. They didn't give me one bit of guff. Like at no point did anybody say, hey, are you sure you want to ask that, with the look of terror in their eyes. And that was one of the reasons why it was important to me to be not just an anchor of it, but a co-sponsor of the whole thing. Like, I'm going to ask what I want to ask, and I had full editorial control over my questions, which I never would have at Fox or NBC.
Oh, but see, that's what's great about our news system. I'm just thinking, like, and I'm sure everyone at News Nation, I don't know them, but I'm sure obviously they wouldn't have partnered with you if they didn't like you. However, they can't try and control you, because in the back of their minds, if they're like, Megyn, you can't say that, you just go on your show and say, News Nation was trying to tell me what to say. And you know what I mean? It's like, once people get free, everybody's more free, because you actually have watchdogs, real watchdogs, not the fake fact check watchdogs. But like, if you try and get Megyn Kelly to lie, she'll just go in public and reveal you. And that keeps people more honest, I think.
It's empowering to you as a truth teller. Like, you can just keep telling more truth. And for me, I love it on this show because I've said before, and I know I watched you on Fox go after Sidney Powell, that whole Dominion thing, saying she's lying to you. This is bullshit. So you do it too. You're not all about whispering the sweet nothings to your audience. Even like, you know what they want. The audience did not want to hear you say Sidney Powell is a fraud. Don't believe her. I'm telling you, this is bullshit. The Kraken and the voting machines. But you said it. You said it. And that's how I feel here. Like, I have to say what I know is real based on what I've seen. Can we be, omnipotent? Can we see everything? No, we can do the best we can without having an agenda. And that's all anybody can ask of us, right? That's literally the best we can do.
Exactly. And people can feel it, I think. I mean, they may not know what all the details are. Sometimes I don't know what all the details are. But they can tell if you're, A, not controlled, if you're really trying to follow your conscience, and B, if you're trying to tell the truth as you understand it. And I do think admitting fault is a huge part of maintaining that trust. That's one thing I notice about the people who run the country and the world. The one thing they'll never do is admit they were wrong. And you wonder why. Is it really so hard to admit you were wrong? It's the basis of all the Abrahamic religions. You can't be a religious person without first admitting you were wrong. You can't recover from drug and alcohol addiction until you do the same. I mean, it really is a prerequisite for living a happy, balanced, decent life. And it's the one thing that they can't do under any circumstance. They'll never admit, like, wow, we thought Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Turned out he did, and I'm really sorry. And we're doing our best. If they'd done that 20 years ago, this country would be in such a better place. Even if they continued the war, if they just admitted their own wrongness and culpability in that, in misleading the public, I mean, it would have just been a much better place, but they didn't.
It's not really in the DNA of most politicians. And I mean, let's be honest, it's not in the DNA of the two politicians who are likely to be the GOP and Dem nominees right now either. No, I don't remember either of them having that. But on that subject, I've got to ask you, and I want to talk politics too. This was very interesting. Trump went on the Clay and Buck show. I know you've heard about this. And maybe you haven't, because you don't really tune into the news. And listen to the following exchange, SOT 3.
So would Tucker Carlson be on your list of potential VPs?
I like Tucker a lot. I guess I would. I think I'd say I would, because he's got great common sense.
Oh, I know you get asked this all the time. But, I mean, if asked, would you serve?
Well, it's just so unimaginable. I mean, I haven't led a life that prepares a person for politics. As I said, I don't think I have any like horrible skeletons or anything. It's not that. It's just that that's not how my brain works. I've never done anything like that. I can't imagine spending time with politicians. I'm a total sucker for Trump. I think he's, personally, I get along with Trump really well. The closer I am physically to Trump, like if I'm with him in the room, I always love Trump. And I think it's impossible not to, and the experience. He's just charming, okay? And he's funny as hell, and he's brave in his way, I think. So I really appreciate that, and I agree fundamentally with his views. Maybe fewer wars, maybe have a border. Like, those are not crazy things, and I support them. And I'm appalled and terrified by the use of the DOJ to rig an election, which is what's happening now. So all those factors make me kind of psyched to vote for Trump. But serving in politics with anybody, I mean, it's a lot for me to think about, because I just don't think I'm really suited for that. I mean, would anyone want to see a guy like me run for office? I mean, people are like, oh yeah, not really, actually. I'm kind of, not really.
I've thought about it a million times. If I had you
on
that debate stage, Tucker, I actually thought about this. If you were out on that debate stage last week as one of the candidates, it would be so fun because you really would be just saying what's real. There'd be no massaging of message. And everyone would respond so well to you. Like, it's just so rare. And when someone is as authentic as you are, the people know. I just don't think you're not going to end your life without having been probably president, maybe vice president. I just don't think you will.
It's interesting though. Like, I've known a couple people. I've known everyone who's run for president pretty much in the last 30 years. But I've had a couple people that I really like and stayed at my house run for president just from another life, and then they get into it. And you always think, wow, this is the person who's just going to be completely honest and say what he really thinks, and not in a way to inflame people. I don't think you should do that, by the way. Don't inflame people on purpose. There's no virtue in that. But just tell the truth. And then you see them subverted. I mean, it's crazy. And I would never name names because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but like, you see these people run for president, all of a sudden an issue will pop up and it's like, where did that come from? Well, because they're getting leaned on or blackmailed, which is real. Let me just say that without being more specific. That's real. I have seen it. We found out this about you. Cool it on that. I've seen that happen. So if you suspect that it's kind of rigged by, people with more power than the candidates, you're absolutely right. And so I don't know. I mean, that whole world is repugnant to me.
So it's a no for now. You can't envision it, but like the door's not totally shut.
I mean, who knows what happens in the coming year? I think we're in for real volatility, and if there's some way that I could help, but I'm not bragging, and it's not just a function of money. No, I don't have a mortgage. I'll admit that, but I live in a 2,000 square foot house. I don't live in luxury at all, but I live very happily, like very, very happily, my wife and I, and boy, with our many, many dogs and our many, many children. So I would. The idea of disrupting that is, I'd really need to feel like, gosh, I have to do this or something, and the idea that I would have to do something, it comes down to me to say, my job is not to save people. I don't imagine that I'm like some superhero. I'm just a hack who somehow endured in this business longer than most people. I'm really grateful for what I have, but I don't think like America needs me. And I don't want to become an egomaniac or a solipsist, and that's what you become when you start thinking that way. So I'm not thinking that way at all.
But this is exactly why you need to run. I do. This is exactly why you need to run, because everybody who does run tends to be narcissistic, and you're not. So it's fine by me if they drag you across the finish line, as opposed to you skipping willingly over it. What I read in the papers. Yeah.
When was the last time, you've been around every politician, you know them all. When was the last time you were around a big time politician who listened when you talked? Asked you a question and was sincerely interested in the answer, who was interested in anybody but himself. I mean, maybe you've met people like that. I've met very, very few. That business corrupts people.
Yeah, no one's coming to mind. And you're right. I've met them all, and I've seen them all, and I've seen them all recently. Yeah. I mean, it was your journalist. You don't really, it's like the relationship is sort of, it's not subservient, but it's more like pursuer and pursued. Yeah. So I'm not expecting them to want to know things about me. But yes, no, you're not wrong. I think what I read in the papers is that Melania wants you to be Trump's running mate. So just, you may have the inside leg up.
Well, I like her.
Because
she's Eastern European, so we're on the same page.
All right, stand by. I'm going to do another one of the quick breaks. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the latest poll numbers on Trump, among many other things. Do you hear what's happening at Harvard? Now, UPenn, the head, Liz McGill, is out, and it looks like the head of Harvard may be out soon too, unconfirmed, but now she's embroiled in an alleged plagiarism scandal. In addition to her answers on Israel, we'll get into all of it. So much more to go over as Tucker stays with us. Debt. You can go to bed thinking about it. You can wake up thinking about it. It can haunt you throughout the day. High interest credit cards and loans make it nearly impossible to pay off your debt. And insane inflation keeps you stuck paycheck to paycheck. The system traps you in debt. Donewithdebt.com can be a lifeline, the lifeline of a lifetime. I've talked about my own experience with debt in the past, so believe me, I know what it feels like. It's been a while, but I remember very well. Donewithdebt.com has a new strategy to help erase your debt faster and easier than you ever thought possible. And here's what they can do for you. Analyze all the debt options you qualify for, minimize interest rates, cut medical bills, and reduce debt without bankruptcy and without a loan. but you need to hurry. Some debt solutions are time sensitive. Go to donewithdebt.com, find out how easy they make it, and find out if it's right for you. Donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. So can I ask you, Kid Rock was seen drinking a Bud Light at an event recently, and we've been told Bud Light's like reaching out to him as person number one to try to win him back over. Did you guys get into Bud Light at all?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I mean, I have mixed feelings. I mean, obviously, I don't like big companies. I know some of the people who used to own the company, and they're great people, and they sold it to this foreign-owned conglomerate, which is obviously run by morons. And look, I don't know, but I think it's look, if you spank one of your kids lying or stealing or committing some moral crime, and the kid stops lying or stealing or committing moral crimes, you count that a win, right? You don't keep spanking the kid. You're like, this is my job as a parent. I improved you through punishment. And if that's what's happened, if they, get up and realize, like, actually, our consumers don't want to be lectured about their kids' sexuality or whatever. They don't want to, like, repeat lies about science, and we're going to stop doing that. Then, I don't know, shouldn't we be happy about that?
Well, I would accept that if we had had any kind of an apology from them, but we haven't. The CEO needed to go. Point. He needed to go out there and say, I hear you. This was some lunatic in the marketing department who completely misread our base, calling them too fratty, partnering with this controversial trans figure, and so on. And I think people would have been quick to forgive, but he hasn't. He hasn't.
No, that's what you're saying is totally fair. I agree with that. So they haven't said anything like that? They just acted like it didn't happen?
Yeah. And this is why you've got Michael Knowles calling them Transheiser-Busch. They're not sorry.
Well, I know this. They closed 2 facilities because someone who works there told me that.
They're being punished, of course, by the audience is punishing them.
Then they should just do. Why is that so hard?
I know.
Why is that hard? How many times have you apologized in public? I've seen you do it. I mean,
yes.
it actually is liberating to do that.
Yes.
Nothing makes you freer than a sincere apology, because then it's off you. You're unburdened.
That's why people are wary that maybe they're not sorry. They're sorry that they got punished, but that maybe they would do it again. And it's like, what I'm feeling, because as you know, I'm very active on this issue, is they're afraid of the vicious trans lobby. Well, I want them to care about me and my area of the world, which is people who believe there are 2 genders, more than they care about blowback from the Dylan Mulvaney's of the world. That's what I want to see.
Well, it's bad for the country, because if you allow lunatics to control your public conversation or your public policy, and we do that, then you empower the lunatics. If one of your kids says, I want this, no, and then punches you in the face, you can't let that stand. You can't let the kid know that punching you in the face gives him a reward, or else he'll keep punching you in the face. Mm-hmm. And so the trans people, not the trans people, but the trans activists, the professional trans people, and the many rich people who pay their bills. I mean, these are the unhappiest, most destructive people on earth. They hate our civilization, and we should not empower them in any way. I'm not saying we should throw them in prison, but we should say, I'm sorry, no, you have no control over our society at all. You're the last person who should, because you're so obviously unbalanced. Go over there and go do your trans thing, but leave the rest of us alone. That's my personal view. And so if you let them control a multi-billion-dollar company, you're making things much worse. I totally agree with you.
How about Chris Christie's answer to that question I asked him the other night about why he's the only one up there who supports the possible sterilization and cutting off of healthy body parts on children, on minors. And he said, well, it's a parental rights issue. And he stood by that on the national debate stage.
I know. Well, he's just like so many candidates, but more than most, Chris is just a pure tool of his donors, and it tells you who his donors are. I mean, he's taking money from the worst people, most destructive people in our society. I mean, I knew him in 2010, 2011, 2012 when he was thinking about running for president. What a talented guy he was. Really talented. He's wildly articulate, as you know, very smart. He's weird, but so are a lot of people, and Chris Christie, and I thought that he could have made a difference. He, at some point, made a turn where he's just a mouthpiece for really, really dark interests. See, I do that. Like, how does your wife respect you? How do your kids respect you? How do you sleep? Seriously, in other words, it's not just that Chris Christie's wrong or he's like wildly pro-cash. I doubt he is. He's being told to say that. And that's worse, much worse, in my opinion.
And the trans, lobby is backed by some very, very powerful money forces. I know that you've talked about this on your show. We've talked about it on ours. Yeah, the Pritzkers, among others, who are like funneling these campaigns and these agendas in schools. And we just have to stand up because basically we're being told that we can't have our spaces anymore, we can't have our sports anymore by a bunch of biological men who are not well. And women and men too need to stand up against it. Let's do Trump and politics here because there are 2 polls out today. I guess they're not shocking, but I don't know. This thing feels very much like it's over. We haven't had the votes yet, so it's not officially over. But Des Moines Register poll comes out. Trump was at 43% in the Iowa October poll for Des Moines Registered. He's now at 50. He's gone up 7 percentage points. Next closest is DeSantis at 19. Haley did not get benefited in this poll from the last debate. She's at 16. He's up 50. His next closest challenger is DeSantis at 19. This, as a CNN poll comes out, showing a general election matchup between Trump and Biden in 2 of the states that Trump lost. Michigan, he lost by 10. That's a big margin. He's up right now by 10. But Michigan, he lost by a healthy margin. And now he is up over Biden by 10 percentage points. Georgia, he lost to Biden, though he disputed it. And he's up in Georgia by 5 percentage points. And then last but not least, there's a Wall Street Journal poll out, Trump v. Biden. Trump's up 4 percentage points over Biden in this one, just released over the weekend. Back in April, Biden had been up 3 percentage points. So it's a 7-point swing in favor of Donald Trump. And I'll give you one more thing. Listen to this. Have Trump's policies helped or hurt you personally? This is in the Wall Street Journal poll. 49% say they helped me personally. Just 37% say they hurt me personally. So Trump's above water on that. Have Biden's policies helped or hurt you personally? Helped 23%. Hurt 53%. My God. That's it. I don't see how Biden overcomes those numbers.
Well, I think it precipitates a crisis. The Democratic Party, and not just the Democratic Party, but the corporate business community, Jamie Dimon, everyone, BlackRock, sort of everyone with power in our society has decided now for 6 or 7 years that the one thing they can't handle, open borders, wars, inflation, opioid deaths, it's all fine. One thing that's not fine, the thing that's not fine, is having Donald Trump become president again. And at the same time, they've been lecturing us for 3 or 4 years now about the sacred importance of democracy. We're fighting a war in Eastern Europe on its behalf. So you can't square that circle. You can't say we're for democracy, but Trump isn't allowed to be the president if the people want him. So I just think, we're moving towards something very, very intense because, the people who organize their lives around hating Trump don't represent, maybe more than 20% of the population. Maybe half the country doesn't like him, but only 20% wake up in the middle of the night dreaming about killing him. But that 20% has all the power. So this is a test, literally a test of democracy. If the majority of people want Trump, and as of today, the polls you read, they do the people who have all the power stand aside and allow that to happen? And I just don't think they will, because I don't think they believe in democracy. I don't think they care about the country. I don't think its systems are meaningful to them. I think they'll do whatever it takes to prevent that from happening. So that's a crisis. We're describing a crisis. Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why I said if this Judge Chutkan in D.C., this federal judge, because we assume Trump's going to get convicted in that case. The smart bet would be this D.C. jury convicts him because they hate him politically. 92% voted for Joe Biden, and she hates him. That if she puts him in jail pending appeal before the election, the country's going to burn. And then all this blowback, all these people say, oh my God, she's calling for violence. I'm not calling for violence, but there is no way the Trump base is not going to be beside itself with anger at that level of deprivation of being able to simply vote for the candidate of choice. That's what's being taken away here. To your point.
Well, yeah. And, speaking of violence, that's what you're going to get. And speaking as someone who detests violence, and I've seen war, that's why I detest violence. So I spent a lot of my career trying to argue against more wars because I think violence is the worst thing. But I'm just being honest here. If you leave people no alternative, then what do you think is going to happen? I mean, the whole point of electoral democracy is that it's a pressure relief valve that takes people who are very frustrated with the way things are going and gives them a way to express themselves, have their desires heard, and ultimately their will done to be represented in a peaceful way. And if you take that away, if you haven't staged an unfair election, which 2020 was, if you suppress information that voters need to make an informed decision, you're rigging the election, and they did that. So if you keep doing that, and people are like, wait, I have no economic power. You've devalued my currency, so it's like $11 for a dozen eggs, and my vote doesn't matter anymore. Well, then what do I have? Like, what power do I have? And, you're going to get violence if you keep this shit up, and that's just the truth. And I am very upset about that. I don't want that to happen. I think the counter violence will be much more extreme than the violence. But any rational person can see what's coming. So they have to stop this. The charges against Trump are not real. They're not even for serious crimes. I was told Trump was like a murderer and had killed a bunch of people in New Jersey or something. He didn't even cheat on his taxes. And they're treating him like a felon at the same time. Like they protect, Epstein until they have to murder him in his cell. It's like, it's insane. And it's all on public display. Everybody knows what's going on. So I do think the people in charge, the people who are pulling the strings on Tanya Chutkin or whatever these ridiculous front people they hire, those people need to really think this through a little bit. You're about to wreck the country. Don't do this, please.
Yeah. And yet, day after day, we continue to get more ridiculous think pieces like the one I mentioned at Axios, which is very worried about the white men in Trump's imaginary second cabinet, that are sounding the alarm as follows. One of the terrible things we're going to see under a second Trump term. They want to target and jail their critics. Hello?
Hundreds of people have gone to jail for criticizing Biden in the last election. Be honest.
Not to mention what they're doing to Donald Trump in 4 different courtrooms, criminal courtrooms, forget the civil, right now. The rest of the list is kind of funny, Tucker. This is what Axios wants us to worry about. They're also threatening in a second Trump administration to deport undocumented immigrants. Hello? To unleash the military, to target drug cartels in Mexico, or possibly crack down on criminals or protesters at home. I laughed. I'm like, are they trying to drive GOP turnout here? Because this is not going to have the effect they intend.
You do. I mean, I do think that in 5 years, we won't have outlets like Axios or NBC News. I mean, I do think the whole edifice is crumbling. But in the meantime, you would like to get, say, 300 Haitian immigrants and move them by force into the home of that reporter or anybody who doubts the severity of what it means to live in a country with no borders. Like they're immune from the effects of these insane country destroying policies. And so they don't care. But it would be nice to sort of make it a little more personal for them. It's like, oh, you care so much about refugees? Here's 3 dozen. You're now responsible for them. No, they're not getting welfare. You're paying for them. How's that? You educate their kids. You share a bathroom. Like, I'm totally over this. This is the destruction of our country. We're watching it in real time. I was born here. I have no other passport. I'm not going anywhere else. So I'm going to have to live with this, and so are my children, and God willing, my grandchildren. And it's being abetted by the news media. They're not calling the shots, but they're defending them and encouraging them. And I really do hope that they feel the sting of the things they're defending at some point, that it's not just working class whites in Southern Ohio or Vermont who are having to live with this crap. You know what I mean? It really should come to Logan Circle very soon.
Mm-hmm. And this is what leads me to Israel, because there was news about some of the positions you took or people thought you took on Israel. They watched this interview you did with Candace. And my take on what I heard you say was saying, I feel very bad for the Israelis, but we also have a lot of problems here at home. And I haven't seen this kind of emotionality over it was, and I said this to the audience, that I feel like you're becoming almost, maybe not quite as much as I am on the trans thing, but almost a single issue voter. You've been jumping up and down trying to set yourself on fire over the southern border for years, and it's only getting worse. And you're right, no one is shedding a tear over the 100,000 dead from fentanyl other than the immediate family members. And, it's only right now that we see an argument over funding in Ukraine happening at the moment that we've seen Republicans even really take a strong stand on it. But what's your take on that whole, people think, oh, is he not on Israel's side? Why is he saying things that don't sound tough on Israel?
I mean, it was
tough on
it
Palestine.
was one of those things. It just kind of had to wait for it to pass. I mean, honestly, I didn't, my gut reaction to what happened on October 7th was horror. People were murdered, and particularly for the kids at the music festival. Really, you're at a music festival and someone comes and shoots you. I mean, it's just awful. And I really felt for the families and still do. So I didn't mean to minimize that, obviously, and I said so. But I was just amazed that all this. So there's that, okay. But ultimately, that's a border story. People came into the sovereign territory of Israel and killed Israelis. People came into the sovereign territory of Ukraine and killed Ukrainians. I get it. I'm against both of those things. People are coming to the sovereign territory of our country and killing us, and no one says a word. And you sort of wonder why. And it's, in some sense, it's like people are displacing their frustrations about what's happening here onto other countries. So I know really good people, for example, who are like single issue Ukraine voters. They're Americans. They've never been to Ukraine. They don't speak Ukrainian. They're not exactly sure where it is. So I'm not attacking them, but like, what is that? It's because they can't say out loud how they feel about their own country. And so they sort of, again, they displace it onto a foreign tableau, and it becomes this sort of morality tale far away, and they don't have to understand the nuances at all. And I get all that. I've seen it a lot. I participated in it myself. But my only job, this is how I feel, is just to remind people, yeah, I get it. Everyone has a view on that. I'm not judging anyone. And I certainly feel terrible for the families of those who are murdered. But we have a country here too. And I think it's fair to ask our leaders to pay some attention to our country and its borders, since we spent hundreds of billions of dollars defending other people's borders. What about ours? I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. I don't think it's anti-Israel. Like, that's nuts. I don't think I've ever said a single anti-Israel thing in my life. I took my family there on vacation. I'm not even going to defend myself. It's too dumb. It's fair for Americans to ask, what about our country? And that's all I was saying. And I'll continue to say that. And I will also say that to people like Ackman, who I think is doing a really good thing, hassling the Ivies over their insane DEI policies. And good for Bill Ackman, whom I know. But I also have to ask, and I tried to do it, maybe not very articulately, it's like, they've been attacking people on the basis of ethnicity for decades. You were funding it. Did you not notice that? So
yeah,
maybe
where were you when we needed you 10 years ago?
Honestly, I'm totally opposed to attacking anybody on the basis of any immutable characteristic. You'll never hear me do it in public or private. And you're paying for this shit. And so I understand. And by the way, I'm on your side, and I like what Ackman's doing. I'm not attacking Ackman, but I do think it's fair to ask, like, okay, these are universal principles. They apply not just to people you have affection for, but to my children too. They apply to all human beings, all created by God. But they only apply to groups that you support? Like, how did that? No, that's not how it works here in this country. Let me just remind you, this country was built on universal principles that apply to all people, all created by God. So it's not fair to be like, well, you can't hassle that group. No, you can hassle any group. The same rules apply to every group. That's why this is a different country. And they don't seem, if you say that out loud, you're like, how dare you? No, I dare say that because I'm an American. My ancestors have been here for hundreds of years. This is the country that we built, a country of universal principles. We haven't always lived up to them, but we certainly tried. And that attitude is destroying the principles of the country that I grew up in. And I'm just not going to sit silent as it happens. Sorry.
That's what was so offensive about those university presidents, trying to lie to us and tell us that they stand for free speech and always have. And they're just following through with a long-standing policy in not cracking down on these, Students for Justice in Palestine protesters. We all knew it was a lie. Well, those of us who have been paying any attention to the news for the past 10, 15 years know it's a lie. They couldn't care less about free speech if you're ripping on white people, if you're ripping on men, if you're ripping on any group other than their faves, right? Any other than their faves. And so that's the absurdity. That's why I love to see McGill go down at UPenn. I'm thrilled she's gone. I think Claudine Gay is going to go because she's on the hot seat too. And now there's a plagiarism scandal outlined by Chris Rufo very brilliantly. Right?
Big scholar, never written a book.
Don't you love that she stole from Carol Swain too? Everybody loves Carol Swain, including Claudine Gay.
But what's crazy is that I'm a middlebrow talk show host, and I've written a number of books, and I wrote them myself.
Oh, amazing!
That's like a basic prerequisite. And she's a scholar running the most prestigious research university in the world. And she's literally never written a single book. How does she get that job? Maybe we should just, again, apply universal standards. And if you're not allowed to hassle people for their religion or ethnicity, you're not allowed to hassle anybody for his or her religion or ethnicity. Try to be an evangelical Christian leading a march for traditional marriage. Try to be, and I'll say something unpopular, try to be a Scientologist leading a march against psychiatric medication, which is what Scientologists believe. That's a totally fair position. I may or may not agree. It doesn't matter. They have a right to have that view. They'd be shut down in a second and no one would defend either one of those. So I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. And the idea of like, whoa, we need special protection. No special protections for anybody. If you're an American citizen, same protections that every other American citizen has. And that's why this is a great country. It's the only reason it's a great country, actually. It's the only reason. You take that away and we're done.
But here's the annoying thing. So Claudine Gay, let's say she goes from Harvard and McGill's gone from Penn, and maybe we'll get the Stanford person and maybe we'll get some other university. We'll see. Like it's, to your point, it's so baked in, this DEI programming at these universities at every level, up and down the faculty. They're all leftists who love this ideology. Like, does it do anything? Are they going to replace them with a Tucker Carlson? I don't think so. So what good does it do, if any?
I mean, look, until you address the core problem, which is a perversion of the principles that made Harvard a famous and great place, free inquiry, honesty, rigor, intelligence. You couldn't get into Harvard even 4 generations ago, right? But a totally different country. You still couldn't get into Harvard unless you were really smart. If you were in the Andover class of 1960, where, the whole class went to Ivy Leagues, you still didn't go to Harvard unless you were in the top quarter for IQ in your class, because it's for smart people. That's what it is. And so they've totally thrown that away. So it's like, what's the point of having Harvard? Well, because they have massive funding from gullible alumni, from Jeffrey Epstein, and from the US government. But they don't really have anything else. So if you want to fix it, you need to say, here are the principles: honesty, scholarship, free inquiry, period. We're going to follow this to its logical conclusion. If you disagree, you're allowed to say so. When you take those things away, it's not really a university, actually. It hasn't been for a long time. It's a hedge fund with buildings attached. The whole thing is fake. So you can't, it doesn't matter. The personnel are even irrelevant. What's relevant is fealty to the principles that made it an impressive place in the first place. And that's true, by the way, for every institution. That's true for American Airlines. Why would you fly in their planes if they're letting people become pilots who can't really fly, or changing the standard for air traffic controllers? Why would you live in this country if the justice system doesn't work? I'd rather live in Italy. They've had a bad justice system for 2,000 years, but at least I know it. Do you know, at least that they have good burrata. Like we're wrecking the only things that make this a good country. And those are the universal principles, not our military. Everyone, the right fetishizes the military. Oh, the military. Military can be good. It can also be a force for evil. I think it is one now. It's good to the extent that it represents the American ideals. It's just an instrument. It's just a tool. But the ideals give it the direction. And we're giving those up. And nobody is saying anything about it. And I hear all these people on the right like, well, we need to protect this or that group. No. We need to protect the country by protecting all Americans. That's the answer.
And just to be clear, when you say you think the military is a force for evil right now, you don't mean the rank and file. You mean the leadership.
Needless to say, I don't. And the military is the saddest of all examples, because the military is the best people in the world led by some of the worst people in the world. And I was with an NCO, a ranking NCO this weekend at a wedding, who was telling me that it just makes you so sad. I mean, these are people who are literally risking their lives for the country, and they're led by low IQ politicians at the Pentagon. It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. No, I'm merely saying the military, like any institution, is as good as its principles. And that's kind of the whole story. I mean, you have a military, guys with guns, and what is it doing with those guns? Is it upholding American values, or is it not? Or is it an instrument of politicians to accrue more power and wealth, or live out some bizarre Freudian fantasy they have, or whatever? Or is it what it was when I was a child, which is pretty much what you thought? It's like, it's the organization that defends our shores from foreign invaders. Like, that's worth having. Having a military.
We were looking up. I was going to say, we were looking up reasons for, low military enrollment in advance of that debate. And the top two you can understand, and they've been there for a long time, but I guarantee you they're higher right now for a certain reason. The top two reasons people don't want to sign up are death, fear of death, and fear of trauma. I get it. And then you can go down the list. But to me, those two numbers are even more relevant right now under a president who presided over this disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, who got another 13 service personnel killed, who then bragged about the withdrawal like it was perfect. Actually trying to tell us that it was absolutely stellar, it was outstanding, he has no regrets. Why would you go sign up and fight for that guy's military and then get there and be berated over race and gender and, the woman next to you is there because her mothers are both lesbians and not because she actually, none of that makes sense. And I realize wokeism is down on the list. I read that too. But my take on it is similar to yours, which is if we have better leaders in there, people for whom they want to fight, people who they would trust, I think enrollment would be less of a problem.
Well, of course. And the first answer tells you everything. They're afraid to die. Well, actually, and their history is the story of this. People are absolutely happy to die on behalf of things that are worth dying for. Death is not the scariest thing. It's not even close to the scariest thing. Slavery is the scariest thing. Living in perpetual humiliation when you're not fully human, that's the scariest thing. But if you give people the opportunity to die for, say, their children or their grandchildren or their nation to which they're legitimately connected, they will happily do it. And they have since the beginning of history. And so people who think they're doing the right thing, who think that they are defending a principle, are not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to die. I don't want to, but I'm certainly not worried about it at all, because I think it's worth saying what you think. And if that gets you taken out, okay, but it doesn't make it any less worth it. And so the point is that the military is not being used for noble ends. If the military were being used to defend our nation, if it were keeping the drug cartels out of Texas and saving people from dying of drug ODs, I don't think people would be afraid to die for that. I certainly wouldn't. And a lot of people wouldn't. You would have no enlistment problems. But if they're telling us we're going to go defend the sacred democracy of Ukraine, which doesn't even have elections, are you joking? I mean, it's not a democracy. It's not sacred. This is a total scam. Everyone knows it. And I'm not going to die for that. And I'm not going to encourage my son or daughter to die for that. And that's what you're seeing right there, is that it's being misused. A great thing is being misused. And there's nothing uglier than that. Misusing something great. I mean, it's like destroying your Ferrari parallel parking. It's like, no, you know what I mean? It's a desecration, I think.
What about Ukraine? Because the news today is Zelensky's going to be at the White House tomorrow, Tuesday. His visit will, quote, underscore the United States' unshakable commitment to supporting the people of Ukraine as they defend themselves against Russia's brutal invasion. That is from world spokesperson KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre. I will miss her if he loses. Let's not lie. She's the best thing that ever happened to the Biden administration or to us. In any event, right now, the Republicans are finally trying to withhold funding on this remaining $60 billion. We've already spent tens of billions of dollars on them, but they're trying to hold the line on this last 60, saying, do something resembling anything at the southern border. As I read their proposals, I'm going to be honest, I'm not that impressed by what they're trying to hijack this negotiation over, but at least they're trying. The one that made sense, which Trump had in place, out of the list was you can't seek asylum in the United States if you already passed through Mexico to come to us. If you're really fleeing war and death, Mexico's good enough. You stop there. You don't keep going up to the United States. Trump had that in place, and that's one of the things. But what do you make of what they're doing right now in the Republican Senate?
I mean, I think it's a joke. I mean, again, it needs to start with the principle that not one more dollar, not simply for Ukraine, but for any country on the globe to secure its border or for anything related to border security until we know the name, identity of every single person who comes over, and we've asked them to come. And there's a process, and not a single more asylum seeker in this country. They've done an end run around the federal law by calling everyone an asylum seeker. And we've imported tens of millions of young men without jobs, in many cases without the English language, no means of support into our country, and they will never leave. And so what we now know is that this country will be completely different in 10 years. And 30 years from now, it'll be unrecognizable. This is all happening with the acquiescence of Republican leaders in Washington. They control the House of Representatives. And I think the shame that Mike Johnson should feel allowing any of this. He immediately, when he became speaker, and he's a very nice man, I'm not attacking him personally, but what he's done is shameful, and he should be ashamed of himself and what he's done to the country that I was born in. The first thing he said, we're going to send more money to foreign countries. That was his first priority. Send more money to foreign countries to secure their borders. I think, saying, even thinking a thought like that disqualifies you from leadership in the United States immediately. And of course, Republicans are just such good little soldiers. They're like, oh, well, maybe he's okay. It's not okay. Please leave the job and put someone in there who cares about the United States And then we can have a rational conversation about this, but not one more dollar. And the last, I mean, I could talk for hours, but just last sentence, that war has hurt this country in ways that most Americans have no full appreciation of. The international banking system changed forever. And what that war did is create a massive block against us internationally with the largest countries in the world with their own financial systems who are keen to get away from the US dollar. So we just screwed ourselves in ways that our grandchildren are going to have to deal with. And, I don't know why Mike Johnson and all the other geniuses in the Republican Party don't get that. Maybe they can't read, but it's very obvious to anyone who pays attention. And so I'm really shocked by the response from Republicans.
What you hear over and over from Nikki Haley and others defending the funding of what's happening in Ukraine is, if we don't, then Putin's going to expand. He's going to hit the Baltics. He's going to hit Georgia. He's going to hit a NATO state that we then have to go in and defend.
The whole NATO is okay. I would say just in one sentence, sum up the purpose of NATO post-Soviet Union. And of course, nobody can. NATO is a standing army without a purpose. Okay. It was created at the end of the Second World War, 46 or 47, 46, I think, to keep the Soviets in place. Like, no, you can't roll across the border into West Germany and Poland. Well, they of course had Poland, but that threat ended in August of 1991. And so, okay, worst case scenario, Putin takes Belarus or exerts more influence in Georgia. Okay. I mean, why should I care exactly? Is there a good reason that I should care? I mean, large countries exert, I don't know. Am I supposed to be, I guess I hope he doesn't if the Georgians and the Belarusians don't want him to, but is that a good reason to send my kid to go die? It's not. And so, just tell me, why should that keep me up at night exactly? Because then what next? He's going to move into Poland. Or no, he's not going to move into Poland. They can't afford it. This whole conversation is so stupid. And nobody in DC can kind of rise above it long enough to see its outlines and just how it's a joke. And historians will rate this as one of the dumbest conversations adults have ever had with one another in public. Putin.
Not this conversation that you and I are having.
The one that's ongoing in Washington. And Nikki Haley will sort of arch her eyebrow and be like, well, he could take Belarus. Okay. Good luck to the Belarusians. I hope he doesn't. I guess maybe they want him. They probably do, actually, but whatever. I believe in sovereign countries. But why is that something that I'm an American citizen, okay? My country is falling apart. Why should I stay up late worrying about this? I don't understand. I'm staying up literally late worried about El Paso. That's a legit concern for me as an American. Nikki Haley doesn't care at all about El Paso. Why is that? I mean, that's a fair, and next time I see her, I plan to ask her that question. Which is more important to you, Latvia? Do you know what I mean? Or McAllen? McAllen's more important, just spoiler alert.
Yeah. It's so fascinating talking to you, Tucker. I love how you've thought these issues through, and this one in particular, I know, near and dear to you. I've got to ask you, I'd be remiss about Joe Biden, because we spent some time on Trump. We spent a little time on the GOP primary. I mean, there's a report every day about further deterioration in his mental well-being and his mental acuity. I've mentioned this a couple times, but he was at the Kennedy Center honors. Those are simple. That's an easy one. You're not talking about world politics. He couldn't get Dionne Warwick out. He thought it was Diane Warwick. He grew up with her, and that's his era. He couldn't get Barry Gibb out. He called him Billy over and over. There were multiple mistakes. He thinks the dead people are alive, and he thinks the alive people are dead, and he's falling, and he's tripping, and he can't seem to do it. That's the truth. He doesn't seem capable of doing it right now, and he wants us to give him another 4 years of doing it, and he still has another year on this term. So realistically, when you see all that, and then you see these polls, Trump beating Biden 10 points in Michigan, what are the Democrats going to do in your view?
Yeah, I'm just filled with hostility, not toward Biden, who I basically feel sorry for. But where's the media? I mean, if this were 1998 and the biggest news was, oral sex with an intern, you'd be like, okay, you've got a non-compass menace president, we'll probably be fine. The world, I just can't say this enough, having spent a lot of time traveling recently, the world is up for grabs. And to have a president who's so obviously not there, who really is Woodrow Wilson post-stroke, and no one mentions it, and we're still talking about Trump, and it's they take him out, of course. They take him out. There's literally no way. he in his current form can run. And the problem is the vice president, and they're reaping, I would say, the reward of affirmative action, which is like, it's all great as long as this is your, head of HR or something. But the second incompetent people become air traffic controllers, heart surgeons, and vice presidents, then your country collapses. And so you have this person who's despised by everybody. Her own husband kissed her with a mask on. So clearly, he's got my view on her. He's not a fan. What do you do with Kamala Harris? And I really don't know the answer.
That's your racism. Gavin Newsom says that's racist. That's what he told Ron DeSantis. You mispronounced Kamala Harris's name. You're a racist.
She can't pronounce her own name. We have no, I've been called a racist over mispronouncing her fake name. But we also have her on tape pronouncing her own first name. Her own first name 2 different ways. So like, what does that reveal? Like, if you can't pronounce your own first name consistently, who are you? You know what I mean? At that point, we need a blood test. Are you fully human? Like, what is that?
I can defend that. Half the time I say Megan, the other half I say kind of Megan. I don't know. For some of us, it can be confusing. I'm not sure what my parents were going for. Yes, swear to God. My family gets upset if I say anything other than Megan, hard A. But like Megan is too hard the other way for me. So I'm kind of in between. I hate to put myself in her camp, but I'm also a little confused about my name.
I may call myself Tucker from now on.
Thankfully, I'm not vice president and not going to be.
You'd be great. But can I just say, I feel for, actually, honestly, I'm trying to be empathetic. I kind of feel for Harris because she's rejected. She's been rejected. I mean, to the extent she cares, I think she does care. You can feel the insecurity coming off her. I think she does care that she's so unpopular. And I feel for the Democratic Party, which thought it'd be like awesome to get a woman you could claim was both African American. She's not. Her father's foreign born, and South Asian. She is. Her mom's Indian. And she's like this diversity hire for everybody. And she's like the perfect candidate for the emerging Democratic coalition. And like they overthought this stuff. Just get someone good. That's it. But they didn't. And now they're living with the consequences. Like, what do you do? Who's going to tell Carmela that she can't be president? I mean, how'd you like to be in charge of that? And what do they give her?
Especially their base, like the one constituency they still have ready to vote for Joe Biden is Black women. So good luck with that situation. Getting rid of the Black woman vice president. I mean, that's what Sonny Hostin over on The View was saying. You can't do it. We're not interchangeable. That's going to be the voice of the very angry Democrats if they try to sub her out. So they're in quite a pickle. But can they possibly go to November of 24 with Joe Biden?
I honestly don't think they can. And if they attempt it, then you'll know it's just flat out rigged election, like flat out. If they run with Biden, then you'll know they have other assurances, beyond the candidate that they're going to win. And I do think that Republicans in Washington are very anxious to lose. The last thing they want is Trump. He'll call them out. He's a much bigger threat to them than Biden. They can raise money off Biden and Biden's socialism or their stupid Reagan era talking points. And so they are honestly, do you think Mitch McConnell would rather have Joe Biden or Donald Trump become the next president? It's not even close. He's rooting for Joe Biden. They're the same age, for one thing. So you set up a very weird dynamic, and I just honestly, once again, can't see how this is resolved between now and next November. And I just would be amazed if we were having a conversation like this a year from now, and we look back and we don't decide, wow, that was a totally different country. Like so much has changed. I hope that's not true. I don't like, but I think that's very likely to be true.
I want to end on you, if we can talk about you. I know you don't want to talk about yourself, but we're going to do it. You love fishing. You love shooting the little birds just like Doug Brunt does. It
is so great. By the way, his new book, I'm sorry to be, and I'm not commercially minded, so this is sincere. My wife read it and just absolutely, I haven't read it yet. It's on my bedstand, but what a great book, for real.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, my
Mysterious
wife got that
Case
book.
of Rudolph Diesel, if you're looking for it.
She didn't even look at the author. She got that book because a friend recommended it to her. Didn't realize it was Doug. But anyway, great book.
Oh, that's so nice. Yes. Well, I mean, perhaps he was inspired by all of the shooting of the little innocent birdies. The way you... No, but what else, like, what's your life like these days? You're very busy, 7 countries over the summer, sounds unbelievable. I see you posting these interviews with these world leaders. You already did the guy in Argentina, pre-wins. You got to go back there and do Malay, is that how you pronounce it, again?
Yeah,
Because everybody
Malay,
wants to know. Yeah, we want to know more about him. The first thing I thought was Tucker's going back there. But what else? Tell me what your life is like now. Is it great?
My life is, I mean, it's been great for a long time. Yeah, I mean, I think if you saw how we actually lived, you'd be a little surprised because it's like pretty low key, to put it mildly. So yeah, I mean, I've been with my wife for 40 years this year. And so since 1984, September of 84, so a little under 40. But anyway, so in our heads, it's like I've been with the same person this whole time. It kind of feels a little bit like 1984 in our house. So we believe in quiet and reading. We have a bunch of dogs. I have bird dogs, and that's why I hunt so much, because my dogs demand it, but I love watching my dogs work. And we live in rural places and, have always people staying at our house and having dinner at our house, a lot of stuff at home and, very quiet, very, very quiet, and happy life. I hate to say that. I mean, no strippers, no cocaine, no famous people. Like, we have the most... we have the calmest life of anyone I know, and I really like that. And we've always lived like that, honestly. So yeah, I like. And I know. By the way, the world is so nuts that you need to, in your private spheres, have peace, because otherwise you just can't function. If I had to go home to a chaotic world, I'm going to go home to a world with no TV and no yelling, no one ever raises a voice, and just happy, sober. I don't know. It sounds boring. Maybe it is boring, but we really enjoy it. Really enjoy it a lot.
And how's Susie doing with your whole transition out of Fox and into independent media now?
Well, she's great. I mean, she was, she's not a liberal, I would say, to put it mildly. So, but she's not political at all. She just, like, in her mind, everything is either like a threat to the family, not just ours, but the family as an institution, or it's not. Like, that's the lens through which she sees things. And so she's, I think she's totally supportive. I know she is, because we talk all the time, because all 4 kids are gone. So I spend a lot of time with her and we talk things through a lot. But no, I think she's completely happy. I mean, as long as, we don't have to live in a city or deal with false people, she's like really, really happy, really happy. Actually, I would say happiest woman I know.
It must be so much easier to do the travel and take on this new project. I mean, I'm thinking about my life right now, and my kids are 10, 12, and 14. And
Yes.
right, you can't. But we're almost the same age. You just had your kids a lot earlier. You met your wife earlier than I met Doug. And I would tell you, there is a reason God cuts you off biologically from having the children when you're around 42, because I'm tired. Right. I'm so tired.
Oh, and it's a nightmare and it's lonely. I mean, maybe this is too personal, but maybe it was, I've got one of my producers looking at me right now. I can't remember what it was, but it was like it was when our final child went off to boarding school. So it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I've been on the road my whole life, my whole marriage. And I said to my wife, I'd really like it if you would come with me. And of course, she didn't really want to, but she got into it. So I actually, if I go for more than 3 days, I bring her with me. She always enjoys it. And that's such a massive upgrade. If you're traveling by yourself, it's just depressing. It's totally depressing. So
no, Justin Wells, you're a brilliant producer, told me. We saw each other when we all met up in Florida over the summer. And he said, if Tucker's without Susie for 3 days, we know what to do. We've got to get Susie to Tucker. He gets grumpy, which is such a nice change. I mean, I think wives everywhere are delighted to hear this about you and having I agree. There's not going to be a scandal about Tucker's personal life, much as they would love to find one. You're a decent person. You're a good man. And I love talking to you. And I'm so happy you're doing this. So happy you're out, you're free, you're independent. Free, literally free, if you want to listen to the Tucker Carlson podcast. Or for a small fee, you can get his subscription content too. TuckerCarlson.com. All the best to you, my friend. Thanks for being here.
I'm grateful. Thank you, Megyn. Congrats on that debate. It was awesome.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow, Andrew Klavan, and we'll get to it all.